how many of these proprietors have the legal framework for their business? And is it morally incorrect? Is this proper business ethics? Or is it just a hustle and how we live by?
Well, I think nothing's really wrong with if you want to earn an additional stream of income. I would actually encourage multiple streams of income. A side hustle, if we are talking about business ethics, if you are in a scenario, you are cooking food and you're selling by the hour, you are not registered, you don't have a food badge, you're not observing the guidelines required for a person selling food, and somebody consumes your product, they consume your food, and then they fall sick, they get food poisoning or something happens, you could face a lot of trouble for that. Right? And the side hustle ends up becoming a court case, or it could turn into something because you're not registered and then you don't have the necessary food badge. So, nothing is wrong with wanting an additional stream of income. Nothing is wrong with ambition. But I think that if it is that you're looking to start a business on the side, and you have a regular day job or you have another source of income, so it's not to say you're hand to mouth where you're in a desperate situation, you don't have the time or the resources or whatever to go and register, you just need to do something to make money. If it is you're in that place where you are comfortable but you want still an additional form of making money, I would strongly suggest ethically, from an ethical standpoint, that you do register the business, particularly if it's something that you see yourself going into long term. If it is that you see yourself doing more of these things, not just for one day, for one cricket match, for one football match, but if it is something that you want to do on a continuous basis and possibly make it into a second career, definitely register your business. Definitely abide by the necessary guidelines that the state has provided, because ultimately, if it is you're talking business and you're talking about operating from an ethical or morality, you're talking about morality. You don't want to be doing a business and you're operating against the laws of the land.
Right.
And then if the authorities do catch up with you, you could face legal action.
Right.
So in that sense, I would say if it's something that you see yourself going into long term, you want to make it a second career, definitely register yourself, act according to the guidelines provided by the government, and abide by the laws of the country. Because you can't say you love your country and you can't say you want to provide for your country and you have all this ambition, you have all this talent, and you're breaking the law.
Right. Okay. Understood, Doctor. This is a very interesting question. It's a loaded.
Yes, indeed. I have to be very discreet now when answering this question, but I like Renaldo's answer. I think it's a very wise approach. But the way I want to answer it is in two phases. Firstly, the word law, really comes from a Greek origin. It's a word called normos, which in the English language is the word we interpret as the word normal. So, in other words, it's normal to keep the law. It's normal for you to treat people in the way that you want to be treated.
Right.
Israel, for example, has a national law. Thou shalt not steal, which protects your property. Thou shalt not lie, protects your reputation. Honor your mother and father, protects your family.
And this is in the legal framework.
Yes, it's in legal framework.
This is judicial, so I can actually sue somebody.
Precisely.
Okay.
You see, thou shalt not kill, protects your life.
But this is not 10 Commandments.
Right.
Biblically, this is the law of the land.
That is the law of the land. Well, Israel is based on the law of Moses. Moses really was one of the patriarchs of Israel. So they have a religious view that even until today they apply nationally. Not as a religious law, but as national law, which is engineered to protect the nation and ensure their continuity.
Right.
So the point I'm making in saying that is that the law is given for the protection and continuity of nations, and that is why it's normal for us to keep it. Now, the principle of conscience, really, you can sum up the entire law of Israel on the principle of conscience, which is something that I wrote in a recent Entrepreneurial article. And that statement is, as you have others do unto you, so do unto others. The practical application is very simple. If you're a farmer and you wouldn't like to drink chemicals, don't put chemicals in your food and sell it to other people.
Right.
If you're a doctor and you would not do chemotherapy if you had cancer personally, don't administer chemo to your patients.
Okay.
If you own a store but you don't smoke because you think smoking is bad for your health, don't sell cigarettes to your customers. You have to do unto others as you have them do unto you. It's a principle of business that governs nations, protects society from the greed of entrepreneurs, and protects the entrepreneur's own conscience. So with that said, if you break the law, well, rightfully you should be prosecuted because the law was intended to protect the consumers. So that is why you've got to register your business so that it puts you into the framework that requires you to obey the law for the protection of other people, so that, as Renaldo said, you wouldn't poison the people with food.
Right.
Now, the second phase of the question that I want to answer is in regards to the role of government in all of this. I'm all for registering companies because of the fact that the state is run on taxation.
Right.
You see, if government provides the framework or the opportunities for you to express your potential legally, well then rightfully so, you should be paying taxes so that you can maintain our nation. That's just the way that things are run. You see, for example, in many religious venues, there are folks who give a monthly gift to their religious venue because they understand that they're being served by the pastorate or the leadership team, so that in order for them to pay their salaries, in order for them to conduct themselves in a way that will allow them to continue month after month and running, they have to have a monthly fee or monthly payment by their members.
Right.
You see, and in many religious books you have these principles articulated very plainly. In the same way, you have in a nation, if you don't pay your own taxes because you have a registered company, well then how can our economy thrive? What is it going to run on? Are we asking government to serve us and create opportunities or allow us to express our potential, and we're not investing back into the nation? Now, I want to counterbalance that statement by saying this in conclusion, and that is, government is not intended to abuse the people, nor is government intended to have a monopoly on people's potential either. You see, a government is really meant to guide people into the scenario or ideology of self-government. The purpose of leadership is to lead others to leadership, you see. Just like the role of a parent is to lead their children into a zone where they can parent themselves and become parents themselves too.
Right.
In the same way, government is not really intended to develop a dependency upon themselves.
Okay.
That's a very dangerous thing, because now government controls the lives of many people, and in many nations that is happening right now. It's called tyranny.
Right.
So government is really there to provide the framework and the environment for us to express our potential legally, and when that happens, well then rightfully so, we should pay taxes from a registered company so that we can keep the state running efficiently.
Thank you so much. Remember, we have our giveaway 6284103, 6284103, and I'm actually giving you the answer. I'm telling you where to go. Just go on Google, and the question is very simple, very simple. TNT's ranking when it comes to corporate ethics as at 2016 in the Global Competitiveness Index. All right, head to Google right now, right now. Go on your smartphone, go on your laptop, go on your iPad, or your any mobile device, maybe you're home enjoying the show, and it's very simple. You can win something so nice right here, all courtesy Building a Legacy and Entrepreneur Life TT. The question one more time: TNT's ranking when it comes to corporate ethics at 2016 Global Competitiveness Index. All right, call us up, answer any questions for Renaldo or Dr. Rossi can. We are happy to answer. Now, for young business owners, I know, Doctor, you started at 16, you said 18, and I know you've worked with your family since from a tender age. And something I learned from Renaldo, his father instilled in him was that, listen, do not get up. Don't let the sun meet you up. Don't let, I am sorry, it has not applied to me since. I've always met the sun up, and I've heard the birds chirping and the chickens and the cock in the back. That is when I get up. So there's none of that. However, for young business owners, did you have any reservations about, okay, I'm going to register my business, but I feel like by registering my business, the government is going to take from me and not help me build my empire? Was that the thought at all?
No, that wasn't the train of thought, because the way we looked at it was that if we don't register the business, we are going to lose a lot more from the government than just some some of our profit. If you're operating, without the license, and particularly with us operating with pharmaceuticals and chemicals and all those different things, first of all, you need to be registered, definitely, because you're dealing with harmful substances. You have to make sure that you have the right equipment, the right necessary procedures in event of accidents and all of those things. So there was a lot of things that we had to cover because of the industry that we were going in. We had to ensure that the workers themselves were protected, they had the protective gear. We knew how to deal with spills, we knew how to deal with leaks, all these different things. And the different codes that we had to abide by for the premises, we had to ensure those things, because if it is we had an explosion, because we're dealing with some of the chemicals are flammable.
Right.
If we had an explosion, if we had some sort of sickness or some sort of disaster breaking out on the premises, we could get into a lot of trouble. I'm not sure if it could result in jail time, but you never know the extent of the damage. So we looked at it as the fact that this is a very, very it's a tricky situation.
Right.
We are dealing with some very high potent chemicals here. We need to make sure that everything's up to mark, because if we don't, we're going to lose a lot more than just some profits. We will lose our good name, we will lose whatever capital we've invested, we might even lose our home. So we had to make sure of that. So we had to make sure we had to do the right thing, and we wanted to do the right thing.
And I think that that actually sums up business ethics right there as a whole, because you don't want to have that you're morally responsible for your customers and your workers as well. So I understand that mode, that medium of business ethics. Now for Dr. Khan and Renaldo, when you have a workforce of maybe let's say 20 plus more, how do you create an ethical business culture?
Well, I believe that it starts from the top and it has to trickle down. So it starts from management. They have to create well, I know a lot of companies, they have their vision and their mission statements and their code of conduct, where for the customers walking in, they could see, so that they have like the company values.
Right.
Normally like a plaque on the wall or something showing what the company stands for. Whether or not the company opposes it, that is debatable, but anyway, the company.
Right.
But ultimately, they have to communicate that this is the principles we abide by, and then they have to incorporate that. I would imagine into the training when they're doing onboarding, inducting new employees into the business. They have to ensure that these employees adopt these same principles, and that your work has to reflect those principles. And the way your work reflects those principles is what the customer says about you, or the reviews that you get, whether it be in press or on social media. Is your company up to that standard? And you normally know that by what your customers say about you. And depending on what your customers say about you, you know the areas where you have to improve. So I believe that management has to play that role when you're bringing new employees into your organization. You induct them in such a way that the principles are ingrained in them, that they know, okay, if we are enforcing that you have to be honest. If you have a bank, then you have to be honest. You have to be courteous. That has to be part of the training, customer service training, how to be polite, how telephone etiquette, all these different things. So it's our training, and of course it starts from the top, which is the management.
Nice, Dr. Rossi Khan.
Yes, very interesting answer. I like how he started by saying that it trickles from the top down. And I certainly believe that there are some folks who say, well, everything begins and ends at leadership. So on that I agree. Now, how I want to answer it is this way. There are several approaches that you can take in terms of creating an ethical environment and culture within your organization. Now, here's how I define leadership. Some people define leadership as influence. In fact, I have a very good friend overseas. He says, leadership is influence. He has written several books on the topic, Mr. John himself. But I disagree with him.
Oh.
Because you can influence somebody without being a true leader. You see, I can put a figurative gun to my employee's head. I can say, well, either you do what I say and abide by my rules, or I'll fire you.
Right.
But that's not the essence of leadership.
Okay.
You see, that in so doing, I'll be controlling and manipulating my employees into doing what I say. So that's one form of leadership, but I don't think it's the ideal form. I define leadership as influence through inspiration. I think that you should treat people the way they want to be treated so that you can inspire them to be even better. I think that's a better way of leading people. So that would require you bringing them into your own personal space.
Right.
So this is what I do. When I hire somebody new, I often spend time with them across the table, and I say to them that you're not going to be here forever. Sometimes they don't want to hear that because
Right.
some of them looking for a permanent job,
Right.
which is harmful, and I'll explain why in another program if you ever invite me back. Now, when it comes to this idea of permanent jobs, I say to them, this is something that I want you to dispel from your mind right away, because I want you to learn the skills of running your own business, because jobs are necessary, but jobs are temporary.
Right.
Jobs prepare you for your own one day. So jobs teach you a lot about what it means to run a business. So I want you to ask as many questions as you can. I'm going to give you access to my personal space so that you can learn all you can about entrepreneurship. And I do this because I want to inspire them, so that when they have their own one day, they'll know what it takes. And I even tell them that when it's time to start your own business, I'll help you to start it.
Oh.
Now that opens up a whole different mindset when it comes to our employees, and now they put a lot of effort into their work now, having been in that particular environment, because I've created that environment for them to succeed, because it's now become a training ground. So the better they do in this job is the better they would display their skills when they have their own business one day. They want to come to work on time, because if they don't, well then likely when they start their own business they won't be punctual either.
Right.
And so on. There's so many ways that you can apply this across the board. I don't have time to explain it because we have a minute or two remaining. But in any event, I would suggest to our listeners today that you bring your employees into your personal space. Don't keep them at a distance. Let them know what it's like to be inspired by one who is diligent, who has a sense of integrity, who has a sense of compassion for his employees, so that he gets involved in the lives of those people to inspire them to become even more than they are right now.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rossi. And thank you so much, Renaldo Singh. I'll invite Stefan if Stefan has any closing remarks from Entrepreneur Live TT. I'll welcome into the panel. Good evening, Stefan. How are you?
A little late, eh? Just a little bit.
Right.
No, I think it's actually quite interesting because all the talk on business ethics and entrepreneurship and whatnot, it sort of takes me back to the whole financial crisis back in the day, because I know they had a lot of ethical backlash to how people dealt with the financial crisis and how that actually came about with the transparency. So just understanding the conversation between Renaldo and Dr. Rossi and how to actually keep that morality and keep that focus is quite interesting. So.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, you can catch tonight's episode on Entrepreneur Live TT. That's on Facebook. Check them out on Facebook. And of course, that means we have a rollover for next week Monday. So next week Monday, we will be giving away 2 T-shirts. That's right, 2 T-shirts for any lucky caller, 6284103. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rossi Cannon. Thank you so much, Mr. Renaldo Singh. I've learned a lot. I like this show so much because I learned so much, and to our listening audience as well. I hope you enjoyed this show. This is Building a Legacy right here on 103 FM.